New Year's of 1958. I just got out of an outstanding New Year's party hosted by my dear friend Nicholas Natovsky, a fellow real estate mogul whom I had met on a recent project. And what better place to attend such an extravagant event than the old Windy City, Chicago, Illinois? I'm walking to tonight's hotel with my accountant Al, one of the most capable number crunchers I've ever had the pleasure of employing. We'd been through some tough times together business-wise, but he has always stayed with me over the years. While walking down the block, we passed by a few other late-night partiers with their sparkling hats and Happy New Year's greetings until we reach our destination, the Prim's Peak Hotel and Spa. "Isn't it marvelous?" Al asks, beaming up at the hotel's central tower. I turn to him with a smile and say, "Marvelous indeed." We check in quickly and go up to our reservation, the penthouse suite on the 20th floor, the very top of the building. Inside, there are 2 rooms separated by a spacious living room, complete with 2 televisions, a phonograph with a personalized collection of records, and a large desk with a handwritten welcome note that reads, "Welcome, Mr. Carson. Thank you for staying with us here at the Prim's Peak once again." Though we had just returned from the party, I decided that Al and I should go down to the hotel's bar for a nightcap to usher in the new year between the 2 of us while discussing important business goals to achieve in the days ahead. When we exit our suite, the hallway is incredibly peaceful, with only one person strolling by. This is what's great about the top floor, I think to myself. We're separated from all the annoying hustles and bustles of everybody else. We walk over to the elevator and I press the button. We wait for about 30 seconds before the elevator doors slide open, inviting us inside. We walk in, I hit the button for the first floor, calling the elevator doors to close, and we begin moving down slowly. "Hey Jerry, I'd really like to thank you for bringing me along," Al tells me. "This is quite a treat." "Oh, my pleasure, Al," I reply with a smile. "Besides, we have further business to discuss for the coming year. Who else better to bring along than my esteemed accountant and friend?" Then, out of nowhere, the floor leaves our feet and I feel a heavy drop in my stomach. Instinctively, I grab onto the handrail behind me with my right hand as Al seemingly floats, the ceiling quickly moving down towards his head. "Whoa, what the hell?" I yell as Al looks at me in sudden wide-eyed bewilderment. "We're falling!" he screams. After about 3 very slow seconds of being suspended in the air, we crash to the elevator's floor, Al landing flat on his back, the back of his head bouncing off the ground. I land on my rear end as a jolt of enormous pain surges from my wrist to my elbow. "Ow!" I cry as I let go of the handrail and bring my right arm close to my chest. I can't move the fingers. Al is laying a few feet from me, his eyes closed. I look up above the doors. The indicator shows that we are stopped just between floors 11 and 12. The throbbing pain in my wrist is searing. Al, wake up," I say to no avail. I crawl over to him and check his pulse. He seems to only be unconscious as I detect a solid beat. I then stand up and stumble over to the red emergency phone in the corner. As I approach, the light above it blinks red and it begins ringing. In a panic, with my good hand, I grab it out of the receiver. "Hey."
"Is everything okay in there?"
"No! The elevator just dropped, and I think my arm's broken, and my friend is passed out from the fall."
"Okay, sir. Are you able to check his pulse?"
"I already did. His pulse is still there."
"All right, hang tight. It appears as though there's been a malfunction in the elevator's generator. I'm resetting it now."
I remain standing there in momentary silence before I hear a screech up above the ceiling. The elevator slightly lifts and then stalls in place once again. I place the phone back in the receiver and lift it back out before dialing 0 for the operator. Instantly, I'm reconnected with him.
"All right, sir. So..."
"Hey, listen, we really need to get out of here. My damn arm is probably broken and my friend isn't waking up. What is going on?"
"I do apologize, sir. Normally, if we reset the generator, all problems with the machines cease. Maintenance is on the way over."
All of a sudden, the line goes dead as the elevator lights shut off, painting my surroundings pitch black. "This isn't funny!" I call out, desperately. "We need to get out!" I drop the phone, allowing it to dangle against the wall before I begin pounding on the ceiling, hoping that somehow someone might hear me. Then I begin taking some deep breaths. They They know we're in here, I reassure myself out loud. It'll be okay. We'll get out soon. I get on the floor again and begin feeling my way through the darkness towards Al. When I find his face, I begin lightly patting it. Al, wake up. At this point, the pain in my wrist is so strong that I'm blinking back tears that are gathering in my eyes. What? Al says through a groggy voice, now coming to. I feel his arm reach up behind his head, cradling it. Hey, Al, you okay? What's going on? What happened? Where are we? The elevator fell and we both got injured. I just spoke with the operator on the phone before the power went out. Maintenance is working to fix it. I continue reassuring Al and myself for about another minute before I hear a hum and the lights come back on. Oh, finally, I say as I hurry over to the phone, which is still dangling. My God, your arm, Al says. I quickly look down at my wrist, which is now covered in an ugly mixture of black and yellow. Yeah, I think it's broken, I say through heavy breaths before placing the phone back in the receiver and yanking it back out and hitting 0. The phone rings for a second before...
Hey, sir. We got the elevator's backup emergency generator activated. It took some time to install. Our apologies.
Look, that's fine. How long is it going to take for us to get the hell out of here? We need treatment immediately, I say, looking at my bulging, discolored wrist.
So, we will need to mechanically lower the elevator as the hotel is currently undergoing a power outage.
I explode in a confused panic. Wait, you just said we're hooked on a backup generator.
Yes, sir, but unfortunately the backup generator simply activates the lights and maintains the connection with the phone line. I will go over to the shaft and mechanically lower you through a switch. At the first floor, the doors will open and medical personnel will be there waiting for you.
I breathe deeply, once more, attempting to calm myself. Okay, all right. Please be quick.
I'm heading over there now, sir.
I then hear the dull tone indicating that the call was ended. I sit back down in the corner next to the phone, clutching my wrist to my chest, my forehead and neck drenched in cold sweat. They're going to mechanically bring us down to the first floor. They'll have medics there for us, I say to Al, his back now resting up against the opposite corner. This is fucking unbelievable. What a way to bring in the new year, he says with a grimace before his eyes start slowly drifting between open and shut. Al, you need to stay awake. You might be concussed. Relax, Jerry. They'll be here soon. This pain is just so dull that I'm having some trouble staying awake. Understanding, I nod to him as he drifts off into sleep. I remain seated in the corner for several more minutes, constantly switching from panic to reassurance. I am never taking an elevator again, I think to myself. Suddenly, I hear what sounds like footsteps above me. I look up and see the bottoms of 2 shoes pressed against the white glow of the ceiling. I quickly stand up. Al, they're here, I say jubilantly. I look over to see Al still sleeping soundly. I decide to let him slumber on as my attention is stolen back by a corner square piece from the elevator's ceiling being lifted and replaced by the side of a man attached to a suspended safety harness peering down at me. Hello, I'm the operator. Thanks for your patience. I'm here to get you guys back down. Oh, thank you, I say before gathering my senses. You know, I have very good reason to sue this hotel for all it's worth. The operator, still looking down at me, is tinkering with the elevator's cable and says, I don't think that'll be necessary, Mr. Carson. Before I could respond, I come to a stunned realization. I don't remember ever telling the operator my name. He goes on, with a small smile, still working with the cable. My name is Henry Vales. Perhaps you'd recognize the last name? I stare blankly, confused, before spouting, What in God's name does that have to do? I didn't think you would, as you wouldn't care anyway. Peter Vales was my father. He died by your greedy hand. I am appalled at such an accusation. I open my mouth to speak, but he continues. I assure you, for once in your life, you don't have the leverage in this situation right now. May I continue? He says, with a sneer that makes my blood boil. It seems as though he's right. I couldn't do anything at that moment but simply close my mouth and nod slowly, staring furiously. Right then, he went on. He worked for your building project 2 years ago in Houston until you laid him and everyone else off because you reneged on the contract they had all signed. He pauses for a brief second and continues. Because this was rather lucrative for him, he moved us all to a nice house and finally felt that he could provide for his family, all to be dashed because you refused to pay him as agreed. When he spoke up, if you remember, you immediately fired him and the rest of his crew, causing him to lose his new house and go completely bankrupt. He died of a severe heart attack 3 weeks later. He pauses again, this time with a cool anger beginning to burn behind his eyes. I couldn't move on with the deal, I say, my voice now trying its hardest to be soft and understanding. Everyone knew that. What was I supposed to do? Staying true to your legal obligation to pay him for the amount upon which you both agreed would have been a proper option, he replies. At this point, I am stiff, with red-hot anger boiling behind my face. He continues, My father suffered for months, never giving up hope until the hope was slowly drained out of him over time. When I heard you were going to be staying here, I knew I couldn't miss the opportunity for you to experience the same. I had a friend of mine positioned on your floor to inform me when you would get into the elevator. My memory takes me back to seeing the only other person in our hallway earlier, walking past us right before we entered the elevator. Once you were inside, I dropped you for a few seconds and left you suspended and injured. You got a little bit of hope when I assured you that it'd be promptly fixed. Then I shut off the power, leaving you in the dark, terrified like a little girl. However, until now, you inevitably held on to the idea that all would work out for you. After all, it always does, doesn't it, Mr. Carson? I now can't prevent the tears from freely flowing down my face, spilling down the sides of my nose and cheeks. I begin pleading. Please, do you want money? How can I make this right with you? I want to, truly. Your money means nothing to me, Mr. Carson. None but God above can raise the dead, so I'm afraid you're useless to me. The sheer terror I feel cannot be explained as those agonizing words cement my fate. He now glances at the cable that he's been fiddling with before turning his attention back to me. They'll chalk this up to a tragic accident. The worn elevator cable unfortunately snapped while carrying you down to the first floor. Instead, you plummeted to the bottom of the shaft, 200 feet below ground level. His grin fades and his eyes harden as his next sentence pierces deep into my spine. May your blood money cushion your fall, you son of a bitch. My freezing blood numbly circulates into my mouth, allowing it to quickly open one final time before there is a loud snap as my feet once again leave the ground. Henry's figure quickly grows distant above us.